Welcome to You Have Power Behind the Law with attorney Justin Clark. You Have Power is your opportunity to get answers to your legal questions. To be a part of today's program, call 407-916-674-1025 or toll free at 855-545-1025. The lines are now open. And now, here's your host, Orlando's drive time attorney, Justin Clark.
Well, happy Friday night to you. Hope you're having a nice, safe trip home on a beautiful Central Florida weekend. My name is Justin Clark. The show is called Behind the Law with me. If you want to give us a call, we have people standing by to answer your legal questions. The phone number is 321-282-1055. Do not be scared. My office is not in Melbourne. It's right here in beautiful Maitland. By beautiful, I mean Maitland. Let's just call it Maitland. I don't know how beautiful it is, but we're right here. The 321 number sometimes throws people off. The website is www.youhavepower.com. That is youhavepower.com. We call it that because, quite frankly, you do. A lot of my clients are dealing with the IRS or bankruptcy or foreclosure, and I want you to know that you do have power, especially with us. You know, sometimes you can get pushed around by the big bad IRS or the big bad Bank of America or Wells Fargo, who's been in the news lately, and they make you feel like a little peon, and they talk down to you. Let me tell you something. These people on the other line are making $10 an hour most of the time. So when they tell you you are a deadbeat, these are the same people who are falling behind on their bills as well, or have been through a foreclosure, or have had the IRS come knock on their door because they were not able to pay their taxes. So don't be afraid. And that's why you go to the website, www.youhavepower. That's youhavepower.com. The phone number, 321-282-1055. My good friend / co-host / today producer, Tom Benson, is with me. Tom, happy Friday to you, sir.
How are you, sir?
I have no complaints yet.
I was listening to the intro, and it dawned on me, what does your family think of you as? Do they call you the drive time attorney?
No. They call me go get me some chips kind of guy.
Take the garbage out.
Please. They call me what's on your chore list today.
Yeah.
They're not proud. They're not proud of me at all. You know, I remember when my daughter was born, I was like, I'm so excited she's going to hear Daddy on the radio or see him on TV. She's going to go to school bragging. No, it's not like that at all. Absolutely not.
My wife's the same way. All she wants to know is one thing. Did you bring a check home today?
Exactly right. Every 2 weeks they like you for a day or two. Yeah. But that's about it. I was at the Battle at Bristol this weekend, Tom.
I saw the crowd. Yo.
The biggest college football game in history, Tennessee versus Virginia Tech. You know, I'm an alumnus of the University of Tennessee, so I flew up there for the game. It's kind of a long weekend. Monday was a little rough for me, but it was a lot of fun. And I got to see my family, my mom, my brothers. It was awesome.
It was the first time you'd been home in quite a while, right?
So here's the deal. I went to high school in a little town called Bristol, and I have not been there in at least 15 years.
Wow.
I'm not a high school reunion kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I got to see people I haven't seen in 15, 20 years. It was a lot of fun. We certainly had a blast. Saw some old sights. You know, drove by the old elementary school, saw the old house, that sort of thing. Quite nostalgic. But I will tell you this. Anywhere you go, where everyone's going into the same place and there's 160,000 of you, it's downright scary.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a stampede. I mean, look, we've all been to games that are packed and you have to wait in lines. I understand that. This is not like that. I mean, you're standing there, arms in your chest, not moving for several minutes at a time, and you just hope that no one yells fire, so to speak, because it could get really dangerous. I mean, thank God we all got in there safely, but it was a little bit scary.
Now, I saw ESPN was there early in the day.
They were.
And the game wasn't until 8 o'clock, so you just kind of hung around all day long?
The game is at 8:30 p.m., 8:30 p.m. And my little brother, who we were sharing a hotel room, he wanted to get there by 11 a.m. And I went along with it. So we got there for the game day crew, the college game day crew.
Sure.
But, I mean, that's a marathon, man. I mean, you get there at 11 a.m., game doesn't start till 8:30, means it doesn't end till midnight.
Yeah.
I mean, that is an absolute marathon. I think they stopped selling beer after the third quarter, thank goodness. So everybody made it home safely. But it was a lot of fun. Battle at Bristol.
Did you take stuff with you, or was there food stands open early?
There were food stands everywhere. We didn't really take anything with us at all. In fact, we got so lucky. So we didn't have any real plan for tailgating at all. And so we were there so early. We walked into these little pop-up bars that you see at like chili cook-offs or these events, these pop-up bars, and they have the little bartenders in the middle, and they have tables all around. We just sat down at one of the tables, and ordered a couple of beers. And then our friends kept coming over and bringing coolers and things, and we never got kicked out.
You claimed your turf.
But they didn't. I would be like, if I was this bar owner, I would kick us right out. Yeah. They didn't all day. I was shocked. So it worked out pretty well.
Well, it's nice you had a good time.
Yeah, I had a good time.
Good.
I got through Monday. Now I'm 100%. Now it's Friday again. And thank you for listening again. My name is Justin Clark. We're going to talk about many legal issues tonight, including we're right in the middle of tax season for those of you who have filed extensions. For you late filers, we're going to talk about that, give you some advice on how to deal with the IRS. We're also going to talk about bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. You know, if you find yourself living paycheck to paycheck or the debt is mounting and you just want to at least talk about it and see if it's an option, I want you to stick around because we're going to talk a lot about different types of bankruptcies, how to save your house in bankruptcy, how to make your payment on your house less in bankruptcy. And then we're also going to talk to you who have a second mortgage. If you still have a second mortgage, I'm going to tell you many different ways to deal with this second mortgage and how to get rid of it. You know, it's attached to your house. If you go to sell your house, you're going to have to pay off the second mortgage.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk a lot about how to take care of these second mortgages. But let's start with tax season, Tom Benson. So, you know, everyone thinks April 15th is tax day, and that's true, it is. But for many of you who are self-employed, you get 1099s or you own your own business, you're going to file an extension because a lot of times you owe. You're not paying enough in throughout the year, so you're going to owe. So you're going to file that automatic extension, which ends on September 15th for corporate returns. But you also can file the extension for your individual return, which that deadline is October 15th. So we're right in the middle of that season. I think there's no better time for those of you who have not filed tax returns in the past to get back into the so-called system, okay? Mm-hmm. The IRS wants you to get back in the system. So you're probably nervous because you owe a lot of taxes. And you think if you go back and file these taxes, you're going to have to stroke a big check. But there are plenty of ways to deal with this problem. The one way that I don't want you to deal with the problem is to not do anything. Bury your head in the sand. Because, look, the IRS is the most aggressive, the most powerful collection company maybe in the world, but certainly in the United States of America.
Think of garnishing wages, huh?
Think of getting your paycheck and it goes down significantly because the IRS sent the letter saying, employer, take the taxes out.
Sure.
Or think about your personal checking account all of a sudden having $50,000 less because they just went in and took it.
Is that right? They can do that?
That stuff is very, very, very scary.
Wow.
But you can deal with it. Look, I think we all know that the deficits these days are crazy, meaning the government needs money. They need money to survive. We have to buy airplanes and things, you know? And so they're coming after people harder than they have in the past because they need money. So they're going to come after you. But here's the thing. They're also cutting better deals. So if you owe money, there's no better time than now. Let's sit down together. Let's look at what we need to do. What years do we need to file? What years can we hold off on? Let's really see what the problem is going to be. And then we can fix it.
So there's an upside.
There's an absolute upside.
Good.
So by fixing it, I mean, there are two main ways. One is an offer and compromise. And with an offer and compromise, we're essentially settling with the IRS. I mean, it's a process. Don't get me wrong. It takes some time. And I would never recommend doing it yourself because if you do it yourself, you're going to be on hold sometimes for hours at a time just to talk to someone at the IRS. Or if you go down there, you could be waiting in line all day just to talk to someone. So one of the best things that we do is we do all that for you, okay? So
you do the heavy lifting.
We do the heavy lifting, as Tom says, for you. You don't have to worry about it. Look, we're going to send them a letter saying we're going to send a power of attorney. We represent this person.
Yeah.
You know, my client wants to be a good tax-paying citizen. They don't want to be up at night worried anymore. Mm-hmm. They want to get back in the system, IRS, and let's work something out. And that's what we do for you. And always on a low, flat fee, Tom. Just like all of the cases that we have at the law firm, it's a low, flat fee that you can pay over time.
Yeah.
I mean, how good is that? You're not going to have to worry about how much you have to pay. We're going to know up front exactly what it's going to cost to resolve and rectify all of the problems that you already have on a low, flat fee. And you don't have to come in and stroke the whole check day one. Mm-hmm. I don't care if it takes months to pay. You can pay us over time, and you know exactly how much it's going to be. Oftentimes, we're even done with the job by the time you're done paying us.
Mm-hmm.
So don't let the whole, I'm scared to hire a lawyer because I don't know how much it's going to cost thing hold you back from calling our firm at 321-282-1055. My name is Justin Clark. The website is www.youhavepower.com, youhavepower.com. So now's the time. If you owe taxes, if you're getting the little white envelope, or if you have unfiled returns, I want you to call us now because we can handle all the filings for you. Then we can do an offer and compromise and try to settle it. If that doesn't work, we can do what's called a payment plan.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you owe the IRS $50,000, and a lot of it's penalties. Oftentimes we can get those wiped away and come up with a plan for over the next few years you can pay off what you owe. And now you're a good tax-paying citizen again. Now you're not stressed about them coming after you.
As long as you stay current.
And you stay current on it. They can automatically withdraw it every month from your account, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. Now they're happy, you're not stressed. You're not letting the stress pervade into your family at night. You're not keeping yourself up at night rolling around worried about it, because now it's resolved. And really the last way we can help you, so we have the offer and compromise, which is a settlement.
Right.
We have the payment plan,
Right.
the installment agreement, or sometimes people are non-collectible.
Uh-huh.
So we have a whole system where there are times if your income is low enough, we can have them label you uncollectible, meaning they're not going to come after you at all for a certain period of time.
Huh.
So these are all things that you need to look at, and we're going to look at it for you. Always a free consultation. You're never going to pay us anything to come see us. I'm open on Saturdays. You can always come see me on Saturday because I want you to go to work. I want you to make money. So feel free to come Saturday, 321-282-1055. Attorney Justin Clark with you on a Friday night. Hope you're having a safe trip home. Have some fantastic weekend plans ahead. And it's tax season, but let's deal with it, guys.
Yeah.
Let's just get it over with and deal with it right now. And then there are not a lot of law firms who really do this kind of work. Think about it. I mean, you see personal injury attorneys advertising on TV all the time, right?
Yeah.
You really see a lot of tax law firms advertising on TV.
Not only that, but the tax doctor places that are on TV in the middle of the night.
Let me tell you something, Tom. If I had a tax issue and I'm scared to death, the only thing that would make me more scared is sending a check or my credit card information to some company in California calling themselves the tax doctor.
Sure.
Or the tax master.
Sure.
Do you know how many of these companies have been shut down by the feds for just stealing your money?
And then they pop up with a different name a few months later.
They just reincorporate under something else. I mean, why would you send your money to California when you could hire a local law firm where you can go in their office, talk to the lawyer, get an update on your case? I mean, this is stressful stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, this is very stressful financial stuff, guys. So if you do have the problem, give us a call, 321-282-1055. Now, when it comes to taxation, there is another way to sometimes get the taxes, these back taxes removed as well, and that's through bankruptcy. Now, there are very specific reasons and times that you can get them removed totally through bankruptcy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have questions about that, feel free to call me. But I wanted to talk about bankruptcy in general as well.
Okay.
And there are really two main types of bankruptcies for consumers. And you've probably heard about them, a Chapter 7
Right.
and a Chapter 13.
Right.
Let's talk briefly about a Chapter 7. A Chapter 7, it's kind of the bankruptcy you've always heard of. It's like, oh, I don't have any money, I've got a lot of debt, just cash in all my chips and move along. Now, it's not that bad, but it really is. I mean, you can't do a Chapter 7 with a lot of assets. Because if so, you might have to buy those assets back or give them away to the Chapter 7 trustee to liquidate.
Okay.
But it has changed a little bit in that in the past, if you were filing a Chapter 7 and you owned a home, you would many times have to give up the home. So you were filing the Chapter 7 just knowing you're giving up the house.
Yeah.
But that's changed a little bit. Over the last year or two, we've allowed, thankfully, the ability to not only save your home in a Chapter 7, but many times lower the payment on your home to actually reduce the interest rate. And we do that by the mortgage modification. There's a mediation program through the Chapter 7 Bankruptcy's office that's actually quite effective,
Mm-hmm.
where we can actually modify the mortgage on your house, a.k.a. try to get it down to a 2% interest rate. So if you're paying 7, 8, 9%, if you got your house back in 2006, you could be paying 6, 7, 8, 9%, where your neighbor's paying 3 or 4, because the rates now are 3 or 4
Mm-hmm.
still.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just ridiculous. I mean, if you're paying more than 4 or 5%, you really need to do something about it. And one of those ways is by doing the loan modification through the bankruptcy mediation program. And that is allowed now in a Chapter 7, whereas used to it was not.
I see.
One issue with the Chapter 7 you need to be aware of is you have to qualify. So you have to take what's called the means test. You can only make a certain amount of money. Your household can only have a certain amount of income coming in.
Got it.
And if it's too much, you don't qualify. It's called the means test. And if you want to figure out if you qualify, give us a call, 321-282-1055. 1055. And that's a Chapter 7 in a nutshell.
How does keeping your car for work purposes fit into a Chapter 7? And if you have a car or more than one car, does it count towards your income eligibility?
No, it doesn't. And it doesn't have to be for work. In a Chapter 7, you can absolutely keep your car. Now, here's the deal. If your car is completely paid off and it has a lot of value, sometimes you have to what's called buy it back, meaning you're going to have to actually pay the trustee to keep the car. But if you have a car that has a loan on it, most people have a loan on their car and they're actually underwater.
Sure.
News flash, cars are not great investments. So if you have a lease or your car's underwater, you can keep the car. You just reaffirm it, meaning, okay, I'm keeping it out of the bankruptcy. I'm keeping my car. I'm going to keep paying it. And so a lot of people do get scared about the Chapter 7 because they're worried about the car, but you can keep them. No issues. You're good. You're
great.
Good to go.
Yeah, good.
But, we need to, if you do go hire a bankruptcy lawyer, whether it's me or someone else, definitely tell them about all your assets. And I would hope they're going to ask about your assets because if you have boats or jet skis or trailers, these things are property of the bankruptcy estate, and they need to be dealt with beforehand before we file.
Yeah.
Because if you file and you have a lot of assets, you could lose some of your stuff, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So be careful. And that's a Chapter 7 in a nutshell, basically. Let's talk about a Chapter 13 for a minute.
Okay.
Now, the Chapter 13 has a bad ring to it as well because it's more of a repayment plan. It's not necessarily a liquidation of your assets. A Chapter 13 is great for many reasons. You don't have to qualify based on the means test, meaning you can make some more money than the guy who can do the Chapter 7. So let's say you're making $100,000. You're not going to qualify for a Chapter 7, but you will qualify for a Chapter 13.
Okay.
Here's the biggest benefit of a Chapter 13. If you have a second mortgage or an HOA lien and your first mortgage is underwater, you can strip away that second mortgage or that HOA lien, which is terrific. Think about it. Let's say you owe $300,000 on your first mortgage. Your house is worth $290,000 and you have another $200,000 second mortgage. Through the Chapter 13 program, you can strip away the second mortgage. What do I mean by strip? It has nothing to do with an adult club, anything like that. Stripping means we're actually wiping it out and removing that lien from the house.
Got it.
So if you go to sell your house now, let's say the value goes up to $350,000. Now you're going to have some equity. Whereas in the past, you were going to still be way underwater.
Yeah.
You could actually strip away that lien. Now, what about HOA liens? So you had a dispute with your homeowners association. You didn't pay them for a while. You owed them $800.
They could be tough, too.
Inevitably, that $800, after their legal fees, interest, all the BS they add to it, that $800 can easily become $10,000 or $18,000. And these HOAs are ruthless, as you know.
Yeah.
They are not going to just settle with you. If you owe them $18,000, I assure you, they're not going to take $5,000 and go away. They're going to get the vast majority of their money. They might do some kind of payment plan, and they might reduce the interest, but that's about it. Trust me. You can try, fight, kick, scream, whatever you want. They're not going to settle. Like I was talking about the IRS settling before.
Yeah.
HOAs don't do that. And HOAs have very local, talented, HOA-specific attorneys they hire that can come take your house. An HOA can come foreclose on your home just like a bank. But that's where a Chapter 13 often can come in, because we can file this Chapter 13 and literally strip away the HOA lien just like we can a second mortgage.
Wow.
So I've had many, many people who file a 13 just because they've gotten in big-time trouble with their HOA or had a big second mortgage. So keep in mind that Chapter 13, if you have a second mortgage or an issue with your HOA.
So Chapter 7 is to wipe out your debt. Chapter 13 is to kind of pay it back in installments. And for how long?
It depends. So the normal plan is a 5-year plan, okay?
Nice.
But it varies all over the place based on your specific information. And if you want to talk about it, my name is Justin Clark. I'm an attorney here in town. The phone number is 321-282-1055. The website is www.youhavepower.com, youhavepower.com. It's a very specific situation, Tom. So you really have to go through all of the issues with your clients and make sure you know exactly what you're doing.
So if you do a Chapter 13, you're doing the installment. What happens if your income varies during that time period, goes up or down?
They're going to check in yearly. So we're going to check in yearly and see how the income goes.
And they will adjust the installments.
You got it.
Good.
And so the 13 is a repayment plan, yes. But it's not like, let's say you have $80,000 in Amex debt. It's not like you're paying back the entire $80,000. You're going to pay a specific portion of it, normally a very, very small percentage of it, monthly over the course of this plan that we create for you. So typically it's a 5-year plan, but in reality, they're normally much shorter than that.
Okay.
And that is a Chapter 13. So when you hear repayment, it's not like we're paying everything back over time, although sometimes you do. But the vast majority of people pay a very small percentage of their debt back. And keep in mind, you can include the IRS in this as well. If you can't strip away the entire IRS debt, you can pay it back over time through the Chapter 13 as well.
Does the Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 bankruptcy impact your credit rating equally the same, or is it different?
I guess I would have to say 13 is a little bit better. But keep in mind, guys, if you are not paying your credit card debt or you're having issues with your home and you're in foreclosure, your credit's already bad.
Yeah.
One of the great things about bankruptcy is your credit's going to go up. Because most people filing bankruptcy, their credit's already kind of down there.
Sure.
So before we ever file bankruptcy for anyone, we get an official credit report, and it's specific to bankruptcy. And it'll show me what your credit score is now and what it will be 6 months from now. And virtually every single time it goes up 150 points. You're going to go up substantially as soon as you file that bankruptcy and get that discharge. So while most people think of bankruptcy as a bad word, they say, I'm not going to be able to buy anything for 7 years or 10 years. That's not accurate. In fact, you're going to be able to buy things much sooner by filing bankruptcy as opposed to just letting it linger. Now, is the bankruptcy going to stay on your credit report for 7 years? Yes, it is. But does that mean anything at all? It doesn't. In fact, creditors are more likely to lend money to you after a bankruptcy because you can't file again for a while.
Yeah.
So they know you can't bankrupt them.
Sure.
So people are always shocked after they leave my office after getting the bankruptcy discharge, and they say, well, I'm getting all these letters for credit cards. I can't believe it. Are these guys stupid? They don't know how to file bankruptcy. And I'm like, actually, they're pretty smart because they know you can't bankrupt them again. And it makes perfect sense. And I often will recommend getting a little $500 card or whatever to help build that credit back up.
Yeah.
But don't let the word bankruptcy scare you from a credit perspective, because more times than not, your credit's going to be substantially improved by filing this bankruptcy. Now, I also want to talk a little bit quickly about bankruptcy and foreclosure, because a lot of people I deal with are still in foreclosure. And they're most of the time now a little further down the road in foreclosure because we're coming to the end of these foreclosure cycles. And I get the question, Justin, does bankruptcy stop the foreclosure process? And it's an absolute yes. So we're sitting here on Friday night. Even if you had a sale date, a foreclosure sale date on Monday.
Monday, what, 11 a.m.?
They're always at good memory. They're always at 11 o'clock, or at least most of them. If we file bankruptcy up until 10:59 a.m., we can stop that foreclosure sale.
Wow.
I can't tell you how many clients I have sitting right now happily in their home listening to Behind the Law with Justin Clark, who had a foreclosure sale that we stopped the day of or the day before. Wow. Yet now their house is all fine. They're living there. They're paying their mortgage, and they're happy because we stopped it at the very last second. But here's what I want you to be careful of. If you wait till a few minutes after the foreclosure sale, you're not going to have the same luck. So when you go through foreclosure, on the day of the sale, you're going to get a certificate of sale. And then 10 days later, if you don't do anything about it, the title is issued. But if you file bankruptcy during that 10 days, the sale has already gone through. You're not going to be able to stop the sale pretty much no matter what happens, unless you can convince the bank to work with you, which there's like a 2% chance of that happening.
Yeah, good luck.
So if you do have a foreclosure sale, the time now is to get on it, because, and I don't want you to come in at 10:58 either. I would rather you try to come in a couple days before, but we do have to take this credit counseling class before you can file bankruptcy, and the class takes about an hour. So if you come in at 10:30, we probably can't get it filed because we have to take this class.
Sure.
But, if you do have a foreclosure sale date coming up, give us a call, 321-282-1055. Bankruptcy can be an amazing tool for saving your house. Even if you thought it was too late to save the home, the bankruptcy can be perfect. And again, I want you to give us a call, 321-282-1055. The website is www.youhavepower.com. That is youhavepower.com. You got Justin Clark here on a Friday night with Tom Benson. We're going to take a little bit of a break, but we'll see you right back here on the other side on News Radio 102.5.
You're listening to You Have Power Behind the Law with attorney Justin Clark. For personalized help with your legal issues, visit youhavepower.com or call 321-282-1055. Now, back in studio with more expert legal advice, here's Justin Clark.
Hey there, welcome back to the show. It is me, Justin Clark. If you want to give us a call, if you have any legal question whatsoever, the phone number is 321-282-1055. The website, www.youhavepower.com. That is youhavepower.com. Sitting in the studio with you on a Friday with my good friend Tom Benson. Tom, what's going on, brother?
Well, we're ready for a weekend. You know, that's a great thing about a Friday, and it's a great thing about this show.
I try to stay away from politics on this show, as you probably know.
The weekend can't start without your show. Do you realize that?
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate that very much. I try to stay away from a lot of political stuff, but I really don't care. I don't care. But two things kind of bothering me today. First of all, this whole national anthem thing with these sports dudes.
Sure.
I just don't understand. I don't get it. I think it's drawing attention to them more than the issue. I just don't, and I don't understand what our soldiers and the fathers of this country who were celebrating by the national anthem have to do with their issues.
Well, not only does it direct attention to the individual or the individuals on the team, it then disrupts team unity because there's most of the team is not going to be going along with it.
Yeah.
So it's got to affect the whole team in its entirety.
I don't like it. I like free speech. I mean, you guys can do whatever you want. I'm just telling you. I think it's kind of dumb. And then this Zimmerman guy. You heard about this trial? George Zimmerman.
Yeah.
So he's in trial against the guy who shot through his window or something like that.
And the guy's attempted second-degree murder, I believe.
And so Zimmerman goes to testify and called Black Lives Matter a terrorist group.
Yeah.
Now, look, I know he doesn't have a PR consultant, and I don't do PR, but look, let's pretend like I do PR. I don't know that you need to label Black Lives Matter as a terrorist group, knowing what you've already kind of been through, done, whatever.
Why agitate, in other words?
What are you doing, pal?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And what do you think about that, Tom?
I read where he had like 3 burly bodyguards escorting him in and out of the courthouse.
I sure hope so. There was more security over there, I know for sure.
Yeah. Well, the Seminole County Sheriff's Office has top-notch security.
So I was at the Battle of Bristol this weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
My mom, Tom, brothers, everybody. It was a lot of fun. The whole security was done by Homeland Security.
Is that right?
It was not done by any local security or whatever. It was Homeland Security.
Wow.
Because the lines were so long. I went over on the back side through like the employee interest, and I was trying to pay someone $100 to let me in so I don't have to wait in line. And I asked at least 5 people, they're like, oh, no, dude, I'm not losing my job. It's Homeland Security here. I think I even offered $200 at one point in time. I mean, it was bad getting in there. It would have been worth every bit of $200.
Sure. Yeah.
But they wouldn't let me in. For $200, they wouldn't let me in.
What do the tickets cost? What's the ticket cost like?
They were pretty expensive.
$50, $7,500?
No, a good couple $100. It
Really?
was expensive.
Wow.
I mean, we had decent seats. They weren't great seats. And I think they were like $180, $200.
Mm-hmm.
So they made a lot of money. And this is not a big town. This town has like 20,000 people in it.
Yeah.
To go from a town of 20,000 to a town of 160,000.
Yeah.
Or a town of probably 250,000, because who knows how many people didn't go to the game.
Yeah.
You should have seen just the sea of RVs.
Woo-hoo.
I've never seen more RVs in my life. Crazy. So a little recap of what we talked about tonight. Again, my name is Justin Clark. If you have any legal question, 321-282-1055. We're right here in the middle of tax season if you're a late filer. And I want you to call my office. If you have any questions about filing your taxes, or you owe taxes and you're getting that white envelope and you're not sleeping at night, please give us a call, because things can be done. You don't need to stress about it. The government is wanting to cut deals because they need money, but also be warned they need money, so they're coming after people as well. So be careful, but we can definitely do something about it. We talked about bankruptcy.
Yeah.
We talked about Chapter 7 bankruptcy. We talked about Chapter 13 bankruptcy. We talked about those of you who might be in foreclosure, but you want to save your house, how bankruptcy can oftentimes save that house and lower your payment, even if you're later on in foreclosure. If you have questions about that, give us a call, 321-282-1055. We talked about stripping liens. And by liens, I mean if you have a second mortgage, or if you have an HOA lien, through a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, oftentimes you can get those wiped out. I mean, think about it. If you're really underwater on your home because of that second mortgage and you have some other debt, maybe it's worth discussing a Chapter 13 bankruptcy because the second mortgage many times can get wiped away.
What's the legal definition of a lien?
A lien?
Yeah.
I think it's a lien. I mean, that's
Okay.
what it is.
That's just
it's
a
a lien.
lien?
It's something attaching to property that prevents it from being sold.
And it just complicates life.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what a lien is to put people on notice that you can't just sell the property.
Okay.
And let's talk a little bit about second mortgage. So I told you that a second mortgage can be dealt with many times through a Chapter 13 bankruptcy.
Mm-hmm.
If you're underwater on your first and you have a second, you need to at least look at this as an option. You don't have to do it, but look at it as an option. If not, you might be shortchanging yourself and not giving yourself the option that you might need. But let's say you don't want to do a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. Or let's say you're not underwater on your first mortgage, so you can't strip the second mortgage lien in a Chapter 13. What are your options? Let's say you're not paying. Let's say you're not paying the mortgage. Well, your credit's being hurt, and everything else is current, but you're not paying your second mortgage, so your credit is being damaged by the fact you're not paying the second mortgage. Option number one that I want you to look at is the Chapter 13 bankruptcy. But if that doesn't work out, we have plenty of other options. Here's the best option. I've had numerous clients who just have not been paying their second mortgage, and through one of these government programs or these government settlements with these big banks who screwed everyone over back in 2006, just get wiped away. So my client literally just gets a letter saying, we're wiping away your second mortgage, congratulations. And that's a good way to deal with it.
I bet.
But that's a little more luck than anything else. Yeah. It just so happens that your loan was packaged up through one of these fraudulent packaging of loans, and the government saw that and made the bank wipe your mortgage away. But I've seen that a lot. And it always makes us very, very happy about that happening.
So in most cases, that second mortgage would have a private mortgage insurance on it, so the bank cancels it and then still collects?
No. In almost every case, it does not have mortgage insurance, and the bank just wipes it out. Because as part of the government, $20 billion settlement with the government, they're not actually giving the government $20 billion, but a lot of that is money that they're wiping away from homeowners.
So I guess you really have to be lucky.
It's a luck thing. There's no skill on my part that can help you with that. It's a total and absolute luck thing.
Got it.
Now, if that has happened to you, we might have some tax issues that we need to look out for, because this is forgiven debt. So you're going to get a 1099-C at the end of the year for the forgiven or canceled debt. Now, the beautiful thing is if it's your primary home, more times than not, the Mortgage Debt Relief Act is going to prevent you from having to pay any taxes. But I would highly recommend not doing or preparing your taxes yourself at the end of that year, because there are certain forms that no matter what you need to file. And so I would go to someone like me or a CPA or an accountant who can do it for you to make sure that you don't trigger any red flags.
Yeah.
The last thing you want is to file one form improperly and then have to deal with an audit because you didn't pay the $300 or whatever it costs to have a professional prepare your taxes. So if you have gotten that letter saying you no longer owe the second mortgage, first of all, congratulations. Second of all, it's worth the $300 to deal with the 1099-C that you're going to get at the end of the year. So that's one way. That's the best way. Another way is a settlement. I can't tell you, Tom, surprisingly enough, how many clients I've had come in with a $800,000 second mortgage or a $500,000 second mortgage.
Whew.
And these banks in the second position are not in a great position. They will settle. Just the other day, I had a $900,000 one that settled for $200,000.
Wow.
Now, to have $200,000 cash, I know you have to be a person of means, so not everyone can do that. But of course, my client was, and they couldn't be happier.
Yeah, I guess
so. That just saved $700,000 right out of the bat.
Yeah.
But think about it like this, Tom. If you have a first mortgage of $300,000 and a second mortgage of $100,000, and your house is worth $280,000, what option does the second mortgage really have? They can foreclose on you. They can certainly foreclose if they want, but they have to pay the first mortgage off first. So they're losing money right off the bat.
Yeah.
The other option is they can charge off, so to speak, and then sue you under a contract theory, meaning just like American Express could sue you if you owe them money as an unsecured debt. So the second mortgages are not in a great position. For the most part, I would say the majority of you with a second mortgage, you owe probably $30,000 to $60,000. And depending on the bank, the bank will settle for $5 to $10,000. So is it worth saving up a little bit of money, giving them the $5,000, knowing you're wiping away 50? And to me, it is.
Yeah.
And more times than not, they'll do it. Call them. Try it. If you have a second mortgage and you're not paying it, it's hurting your credit. Save up $5,000. Offer them $2,000 if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Get the dialogue started. They might even ask for your financial documents or whatever. But if you have a second mortgage, $50,000, call and try to settle. There's no reason not to, especially if you're not paying. Your credit's already being harmed.
Sure.
And then your credit report's just going to say debt settled for less than amount due, and your credit will start getting better after that. There's nothing wrong with doing it that way. So if you're not paying a second mortgage, nothing wrong with calling, sending in a lowball offer, and try to settle with them.
Yeah.
Bank of America, all the big boys, most of them will settle for much, much less than you. Start at 10%. Go up to 20% max, and I can't guarantee, but there's a high likelihood that you're going to get something done.
Wow.
Now, there are some banks who have second mortgages that are a little bit more difficult. If you have Regions or SunTrust, they typically will not settle for less than like 50%.
Mm.
So if you have a Regions second mortgage, I know you owe $50,000 because all of you who have Regions second mortgages owe $50,000. It might be 60 now after legal fees and interest. They will settle for 20 to 25. 20 to 25 grand. Maybe you can get them down to 15, but that's about it. But then again, if you have the money laying around, might as well do it, clean up the credit. Now you might even have a little equity in your house. You don't have to worry about the second mortgage anymore. But if that doesn't work, there's, yet another option. So we already tried the Chapter 13 bankruptcy to settle your second mortgage. That didn't work. You weren't one of the lucky ones that the governmental settlements wiped yours away, and you tried to settle, but they just wouldn't settle for as low as you can go. You don't have the cash available to settle with them. You've heard me talk about on this show many times about a loan modification.
Yeah.
But we're always talking about the first mortgage normally. We're trying to get down to 31% of your gross monthly income, try to make your interest rate 2%, and let's move on with our lives. Well, second mortgages also will do loan modifications. So if you owe $50,000 on your second mortgage, you're not paying it, you want your credit to get better because you want to go buy stuff, I understand. Call them and try to do a loan modification. So tell them, or call us if you want. If it doesn't work out, please call us. We do them all the time. 321-282-1055. Do a loan mod with them. Call them up, say, look, send me the loan modification packet. Fill it out. Send them you got to send them all the documents. Go through the whole rigmarole. How do you say it?
Rigmarole.
That's a tough one for me.
Yeah.
I've never tried that word, I don't think. Remind me never to use it again.
Okay.
So do a loan modification on your second mortgage. Now, it's a process. It takes a lot of time. They're going to lose the documents. It's the same nastiness you've heard about or even went through on your first mortgage.
Uh-huh.
It's going to take 3, 4, 5 months probably. But most of the time, if you can't settle or wipe it out, they will do a loan modification on the second mortgage. So it's worth a shot. So anyone out there who has a second mortgage and you need to deal with it, especially if you're not paying it, or especially if you're underwater on your first mortgage, give me a call, Justin Clark, 321-282-1055. There's more information also on the website at www.youhavepower.com. That is youhavepower.com. Hope you're having a fantastic Friday. Hope the traffic is dying down a little bit, and hope you have some fantastic weekend plans ahead. I'm here with Tom Benson, as always, on a Friday night on News Radio 102.5. What do you have planned this weekend, Tommy?
I got to go swimming. I cleaned the pool this past week.
Yeah? It was green?
Yeah, I got it. Well, no, it wasn't that bad, but it just needed some attention, And the kids will come over and we'll have a good time. We'll do a little cookout.
I was thinking this morning, this is probably, we're getting into the best time of year for around here.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it still is staying daylight long because we haven't done the whole change the clocks thing.
Yeah. That's usually the first weekend in November.
The rain subsides a little bit. We're not going to get all the terrible storms at night, although it's been a little rainy lately. And it's going to cool off just a little bit.
Yeah.
When you wake up in the morning, you're just not quite as hot and humid as you have been all summer.
Yeah.
I felt it a little bit. Have you felt it yet or no?
This past week was a little warmer than last week. Last week was perfect. Cool in the morning, cool in the evening, but a little bit more humidity came back this week.
I don't wear I don't wear glasses, but I wear sunglasses. And when it's so hot and humid, as soon as I walk out of my house in the morning, the glasses fog up. Does that happen to you?
Sure, it happens
Does
a
it
lot.
happen with regular glasses too, or just sunglasses?
Yeah, both glasses. Yeah. You know it's humid when your windows at your house get water condensation on them too.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrible. But anyway, well, I hope you enjoy your weekend. So I wanted to talk briefly too, Tom, about the Under One Roof program. Because people who have gone through our other programs, bankruptcy, getting their house back on track, or short selling their homes, they're ready to get back in the market.
Before you get into that, say you have a foreclosure. What is the waiting period? How long do you have to wait before you go entertaining buying another house?
It's called the seasoning period. So this seasoning period, anytime after a foreclosure or a short sale or a bankruptcy, there's certainly going to be a time period that you have to wait before you can buy a house again. And it really has been dropping every year. I mean, back in the day, we were talking 7 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it took a very long time. I've even seen some lenders do 1 year seasoning. Now, for the most part, I think you want to count on 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But I've seen some lenders, for the right people, do 1 year, meaning 1 year after that bankruptcy discharge or 1 year after that short sale, you could go buy a house again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you might have to go rent for a year or two. So what? The rates are still great.
Yeah.
If you've been through a foreclosure or a bankruptcy, don't be scared to get back in. I mean, the housing prices are still very good, but more importantly, the rates are fantastic.
Oh, they're so low.
I mean, 1 year ago today, sitting right here on this station, I would have told you the rates would be at 5.5% at least by now, and they're just not.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, let's think about it. You're really not buying the house for how much you're buying it for. You're buying the payment. That's what really matters. What really matters is how much you're paying per month for the house, right? I mean, when you do your budget, you're not looking at how much you owe on your house. You're looking at what the payment is every month.
And the lower the rate, the more house you get.
The lower the rate, the more house you get, and the better house you get. Maybe instead of buying an old house you have to fix up, maybe you get a new one because the rates are so low.
Yeah.
So be very cognizant of that. And that's what the Under One Roof program is really all about. It's a 4-step program that I created to help you get back into home ownership. So it's 4 steps, and we'll talk about them here quickly. Number 1, I'm going to deal with any credit issue that you have, okay? So we're going to pull your credit, do an audit of your credit report, and get you back to the point where you can buy a house again. There are a lot of things you can do. I'm going to give you advice on should you get a credit card? Should you pay that medical bill off? Should you pay that debt off? Should you buy a car? These are all things that you can do a little research on, but I don't know if you necessarily know. So step 1 is we're going to deal with any sort of credit issue that you already have and give you advice on getting the credit back to a point where you're going to qualify for a mortgage. Now, number 2, we're going to handle all of the contractual negotiations with the realtor. So look, who pays for the termite inspection? When you see that HUD at the end of the day and you don't know why is the buyer paying this, why is the seller paying that, we're going to go through this entire process with you to make sure that you're not getting taken advantage of. I've seen too many mortgage companies or realtors out there really take advantage of people, especially in Florida. Florida is such based on real estate that it's easy to take advantage of people, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, because you just don't know. Now, there are a lot of I deal with fantastic realtors all day. There are just countless great realtors here, so I'm not bashing realtors. But just like lawyers or just like any doctors, whatever, there are some bad apples out there. And what happens if you get one of those bad apples?
Yeah.
So for a very low flat fee, you're going to have me represent you through the entire home buying process. So step 1, we're going to make sure your credit gets to a point where you can buy again. Number 2, we're going to handle all of the contractual negotiations throughout this process with the realtor, make sure you're only paying what you need to pay. Now, number 3, we're going to work with you and the mortgage company to get a mortgage that you don't have to pay any stupid fees. So mortgage companies historically have been completely taken advantage of aspiring homeowners with all of these junk fees. You've heard Robert Palmer or R.P. Putney talk about it for years now because he was really the visionary in getting rid of these junk fees. And I always analogize it to if you go to McDonald's, you go through the drive-thru to buy a hamburger, the hamburger's $1.99, okay? So $1.99 was what you pay for the hamburger, right?
Right.
But it's like McDonald's now charging you a teller fee and a cook fee, and you've got to pay the light bill fee and that sort of thing. That's what mortgage companies have been doing. Mortgage companies make money off of lending money.
And usually the fewer the mortgages they write in a month, the more the fees are because they have to cover their overhead.
That's what it's all about. So we're going to make sure you only pay what you have to pay. We're going to make sure you're not paying any of these junk fees that you just shouldn't have to pay. There's no reason why you need to pay this loan origination fee or or the just all of these fees they add in. They're just total junk fees just to pad their pockets. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And then lastly, and possibly most importantly, we are going to go to that closing with you. So when you go to this room with everyone staring at you because they don't make money unless you sign.
That's right.
We're going to be there by your side, making sure you only sign the right stuff. We're going to make sure you don't get in the same trouble you got in 2006. We're going to be there by your side the whole way. And if there's something that needs to be changed, I've already been paid. And it's a low flat fee. You're not paying us very much, I promise. But I've already been paid. So I'm not going to let you get taken advantage of. It's the other people in the room who are not getting paid until you sign. And we're going to be there representing you and only you through this entire process.
In other words, you read the fine print that no one else does.
Look, it's a big stack of paperwork that you're going to sit there, and they're going to all be staring at you, inevitably, just handing you paper, because they want to fly through it. They have other closings to do.
It could be 3 or 4 inches thick.
It's a thick stack of paperwork. And again, unless you sign it, no one else gets paid. And that's what I'm here for. And that is the Under One Roof program in a nutshell. We're going to deal with your credit, handle all the contractual negotiations, handle the mortgage, make sure you're not paying any junk fees, and then go to closing with you. Ladies and gentlemen, I had a really good time. But more importantly, I hope you have a fantastic time this week, and hopefully the weather's going to be absolutely terrific. If you have any legal questions, 321-282-1055. The website is www.youhavepower.com. That is youhavepower.com. My name is Justin Clark, and I don't know much, Tom.
But you know one thing.
I know one little thing. That's I'll be right back here with you next week at 6 p.m. on News Radio 102.5.
Thanks for listening to You Have Power Behind the Law with attorney Justin Clark from the law firm Justin Clark & Associates. For personalized help with your legal challenges, visit youhavepower.com and tune in every Friday at 6 p.m. for more expert answers to your legal questions here on News Radio 102.5 WFLA.